Welcome to this presentation of the Paper Street Podcast. Welcome to Late to the Party, a program on the Paper Street Pictures Podcast Network. Your hosts for the following are myself, Shawn Talley. Joining me is another piece of the Paper Street team, though this time in a non-traditional capacity, my co-host Cameron Burns. More on him in 1 minute, though. No, this is a very special episode. We are turning the tables on Mr. Burns this time, as he is kind of the guest of this program, or at least he is going to be the one with the cinematic blind spot we are going to help cure. And subbing for Mr. Burns as a co-host with me, an old pal of several of the Paper Street team, going back many years with both Cameron and Aaron. He's worked with them on a few different gigs. He's even helped co-host an old podcast with yours truly, Multimediocrity. May it rest in peace. Yes, joining me for this episode is none other than Mr. Matthew Hevey. Those who know him as the Doofin. Doofin, thank you so much for going with me on this installment.
It is a fantastic pleasure to be in your presence again. I'm very excited about this, if not only just to mock Cameron a little bit, but to go over what is a much but controversial film, given the landscape of the past few years.
Yes, of all the movies we've covered, it's the rom-com Christmas movie that's going to prove to be the most problematic to modern lenses. But yes, seriously, glad to be back on the air with you. It's a homecoming of sorts in that regard with you and I. And again, you're just like your family to half of Paper Street. So yes, glad to have you on here to help give Cameron the business on why he has not seen a particular film. Speaking of this podcast, quick explainer for folks who've never listened. There's no necessary order to how you listen to the show, but we reach out and ask a potential guest, what's the biggest, most popular, most kind of in the culture movie that for whatever reason you've missed throughout your life. And then we will chat with them ahead of the first watch, ask them why they didn't see it. Was there a reason they didn't? What do they know about the movie? What do they think that movie is? We then reconvene on the other side of the same podcast after they viewed it, and we will chat about the film, their experience watching it, and a whole bunch more. And everybody has blind spots, no matter how many films you have seen, no matter how much of a cinephile, it's a numbers game, as Cameron likes to say. In this installment, this very special episode, as mentioned, Cameron himself, he gave me a few movies. I've given him a few movies on another episode you'll hear down the road. But he had never seen, the one that stuck out to me for some reason was the 2003 rom-com of British All-Stars, the rom-com Christmas movie, as I mentioned, Love Actually. And all right, normally what we do is Doofin and I, in this case, would pitch to a guest, but Cameron has awkwardly been on mute the whole time. So I'm going to say he's been here the whole time. Since you've been sitting there quietly and awkwardly, Cameron, this is your cue to jump in.
That is the longest I've ever been quiet. That was so hard. You have no idea. Also, as someone who has not seen Love Actually and doesn't really know a ton about it, suddenly I feel like I'm watching like Straw Dogs or something with the way you guys are talking about it. Like it's been like banned in China or something. I don't understand.
They're very similar. I mean,
Twitter's not the real world, and Doofen's proving to be terminally online apparently because he's believing the internet that this movie is super issue heavy, which again, it's not that it's not. Tell me a movie from the early 2000s that holds up completely. Things have changed greatly just in the past 10 years, much less 15 to 20. But yeah, we'll get into that after you see it. So it's interesting. You did say you don't know much about this. So a few of the questions we always do ask is, do you know why you missed this one? Is there a reason you missed this one?
Yeah, there's not really a reason I missed this one specifically. I think I just lumped it in with every other British rom-com that it's not like I've never seen one of these movies. I've seen Bridget Jones. I've seen, Notting Hill, Forwarding to a Funeral. But like in general, that's not really my sweet spot. And so I think it just kind of got lumped in with those. And I never thought of it when it first came out as a Christmas movie, really. I know it's gotten legs as a Christmas movie and people watch it every year. But it just kind of fell into the Colin Firth movies that I don't tend to usually go out of my way to watch.
I'm shocked that, and callback here to the previous episode, which I finally caught up on today for Titanic. I'm shocked you were not dragged to this or forced to sit through one of the 9,000 TBS showings. Yeah, this is, to me, given the scope of films you've seen, I am personally shocked that somehow this has escaped you.
Well, Doofin, you have known me since 2003, and you know that no women would tolerate me enough to take me to a movie or drag me to see anything. So while I did get Titanic, this one, it just didn't happen for me. It didn't happen.
He's saying by the 2000s, he was a man. Didn't get told what to do is what it sounds like. Late 90s Cameron.
Sure, we'll go with that. That's what I meant.
Get dragged around, sure.
Sure. I don't know why I never watched it, really. It's not a movie I have gone out of my way not to watch. I've never tried to avoid it. I don't know. I've just never had a reason to watch it, and no one's ever forced me to.
It's just interesting because some of the ones you named are actually from the same director, Richard Curtis. He did Four Weddings, he did Notting Hill, but he's done that style of movie a few times where it's British, it's got the comedy, it's got some sadness in it too. It's unique in that way. And it's funny, Doofy can speak to this too, maybe, but I'm old enough to remember when this movie came out, it was just kind of like middling fanfare. And then it was not really regarded all that well. And then suddenly 10 years after its release, it kind of started popping up on Christmas watch lists. And people are like, what? That movie? And then it got pushed back again. And then it got like another positive reassessment. And now it's like literally regarded as a Christmas movie. It fully kind of hit the canon of Christmas classics, if you will, whether deserved or not. But it's very much a Christmas movie. I will say, Cameron, like it fully is absorbed in Christmas more so than a lot of movies people argue about being Christmas movies. But yeah, Doofin can say like we've seen the ebbs and flows, the way people talk about SNL seasons being good and then terrible, then good and then terrible. I think it's back to problematic, as we mentioned earlier, as being just a horrible, repugnant piece of cinema, according to Twitter.
I'll be the judge of that. In the Burns household, we watch Elf, National Lampoon's Vacation, and A Christmas Story. Then we repeat. That's how Christmas works here. So we have no time for new Christmas movies. So that's probably partially why it missed me. But no, I definitely it's not a movie I remember, like with Titanic, it was like everybody talked about it. With Love Actually, like you said, it's like it didn't really, I don't know, hit me in any sort of way to make me think I needed to see it until people started talking about it as a Christmas movie later on. And it just kind of kept snowballing. And like only now is it a thing that I feel like I need to watch, but it didn't seem to hit the zeitgeist the way that like Bridget Jones's Diary or some of the other Miramax ones of the day, Four Weddings and a Funeral, like those hit the zeitgeist when they came out and you watched them just kind of because you felt like you had to. I feel like Love Actually just didn't, and it just missed me. But I'm happy to fill in that blind spot.
You keep referencing all these films that Richard Curtis wrote and literally bookended Love Actually, and somehow again.
Well, not just that, he's mentioning how those were bigger hits in their moment, but he is very correct though about the legs of this movie. I would argue this movie is referenced and still watched so much more now than the other ones, and a lot of that has to do with it being a holiday rewatch. But even the memes, and stuff like that, I feel like this movie has more resonance in pop culture right now than some of the other ones we talked about. I don't hear anybody talk about Four Weddings and a Funeral anymore. That movie had a rebooted TV show recently and stuff like that. So
I couldn't tell you two movies. Well, I could now that the Doofin said that, but before this started, I couldn't have told you two movies Richard Curtis made. I know he's a British filmmaker who makes movies in this world because I know he made Love Actually, but I couldn't have told you what else he's done. This is just, it's not a genre that I'm like super familiar with.
What if I told you his two other directorial appearances were The Boat That Rocked, just a cinematic masterpiece. I don't know. I've never seen it. And
that's
About
Pirate
Time,
Radio,
which
as it was known in the States.
Is that what that was?
Yeah, The Boat That Rocked.
Never seen it, actually.
It was about Pirate Radio, but yeah, that was the American title of it. It's not bad.
What was the other one?
Fun movie.
About Time, which actually is not a bad little romance flick.
I don't know that I saw that.
Is that
either.
the Rachel McAdams time travel movie with Domhnall?
I mean, I like to think it's Domhnall Gleeson's film, but Rachel McAdams is in it. Also, Margot Robbie early on in her career.
Never heard of her.
She's going places.
She won't amount to nothing.
Nah, she ain't gonna make it. That kid ain't gonna make it. She's done. She's done after Babylon. She'll never make it.
Oh, real quick tangent, because Cameron and I are Team Babylon. Did you see that movie, Doofin?
No, I need to.
Oh, okay. Give it a try one day when you have 3 hours and let us know, because it has polarized. It kind of broke film Twitter like a movie has not done in a while last year or early this year.
There are a lot of people who don't like Babylon, and those people are wrong. That movie is amazing.
Is it Gaspar Noé-esque in its absurdity and just off the wall, nonlinear madness?
No, it's linear madness.
No, strangely.
Okay. It's linear madness, but it is madness. It's like Coke fuel.
That is that's the idea I got from what I did read about it. I am very interested just because of, seeing trailers and again, read.
Some folks we know are like truly pro the movie. I'm in the middle where, yes, I'm pro. I enjoyed it, but I also fully agreed with almost every just scathing review of it, if that makes sense. Like it is all the things people say, good and bad.
Yes. Also, I feel like if I have to watch Love Actually in the next couple of days, Doofin should have to watch Babylon.
Well, we'll get to that at the very, very end, because since he's the sub-host, we'll ask him the question we usually ask the guest about what his blind spots might be. But we're talking about your blind spot today, and we'll get into some of the ones you might have at the end. Yes. So one thing I want to tell you, you said you don't know too much about this movie. Do not look up the cast before you watch it, because I'm pretty sure if you're a little in the dark, you will be just continually amazed at the roster of British talent that is recognizable in this movie.
I know some. I know it's got a big cast, and I know some of the people that are in it, but some of them will probably surprise me. But I know Andrew Lincoln's in it. I know what Bill Nighy's in it. I know Colin Firth is in it. I know it's got a big cast that every British guy that people think's witty. Hugh Grant.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it bounces off of you, or if it does at all, or if you take to it pretty well, because there are other movies we'll talk about that were in the wake of this that kind of tried the formula and to not nearly the success or kind of permanence in culture that this one did. And I do think the British charm of that acting group is like part of what carries it through. So Doofin certainly got some hot takes on it. I'm very interested to see how he comes back with it too.
Let's not oversell it. I just happen to agree with some aspects of its male dominance.
Sorry, Doofin's going to read the internet wikis to us as we do the episode post-punch. So.
Hold on, I need to log on to Jezebel and just really ramp up my anger.
Yeah, just go ahead and see what the kids are saying on 4chan, and then we'll just talk about that.
I'm pretty sure
I'm not the host.
4chan are saying the exact opposite.
I was going to say 4chan might be in support of it being.
I haven't seen
MRA folk.
4chan thinks there's not enough misogyny.
Okay, sorry, I hadn't seen the movie. I didn't know which angle it was.
How dare you give those women any agency?
Yeah.
Right? They work at an ad agency, a few of them.
Are they the ladies who plug the phone lines into other holes so people can call people in the 50s? That's the job.
There's that and other hole plugging in this film.
Oh, hey-o.
Hey, now.
There are
a surprising amount of actual nudity and sex in this movie.
An absurd amount of nudity in this movie.
Really?
Yes.
British, man. You know the Brits like to show everything, man.
It's a Christmas movie. You can't have nudity in a Christmas movie. That's just
nothing.
Prepare to have your mind blown.
Christmas like bare breasts.
Imagine Babylon, but with Christmas trees. Cameron.
Oh my God, this sounds amazing.
No, seriously, though, without further ado, let us reconvene on the other side. We will return in just a moment to you listeners' ears here with Cameron Burns' thoughts on the film and much more. So stay tuned. Hey there, welcome back. What was mere seconds for you, the listener, was a good deal more for us. When we last left off, our own Cameron Burns here had not seen Love Actually. He was late to the party, but at least he made it to this party, this holiday party full of just horny Brits and temptresses. And we welcome this gentleman back, a more cultured individual, a more learned film viewer, someone who's now seen the largely sex-positive yet most fat-phobic movie possibly this side of Shallow Hal, the 2003 film Love Actually. Cameron Burns, how you feeling after curing this cinematic blind spot?
So that's who Bill Nighy is. I get it now. No, I feel I feel like I knocked something off my list, and I have some talking points. I have some opinions. I'm excited to get into a deep dive on this one. It was not what I expected.
Well, to that point, what exactly, in a macro sense, were you expecting, and how different was it from what you were expecting? What were your kind of overall thoughts on it?
Well, as you talked about it, I didn't expect the movie to call me fat the entire time. Yeah, it was. Fat shaming is literally the first thing I wrote down. That girl, like, and for everybody, male, female, they were just like, dude, if you're not wearing a size 2, you're a fatty in this movie. It's crazy. It was a lot less standard rom-com than I was expecting, and a lot more of like a tonal hodgepodge. It was like somebody watched Notting Hill and then was like, this movie needs a little bit of Van Wilder. And like, it was weird. It's like a very strange tone and moral compass to this movie. Now, I know early 2000s had a strange moral compass, but man.
The irony here is that it's the guy who wrote Notting Hill.
Yeah, well, he was he clearly watched American Pie and then said, okay, let's try this again. It's so weird, too, because it has all of those like hallmarks of the rom-com and of these like quirky British movies, kind of like we talked about in the open. And I think the movie works best when it's in that world, because that kind of is Richard Curtis's world. But like, it just kind of every so often you just be like, wait, what? Like it just showed it's 2003. And like, you're just like, that is weird. Like, for example, does porn have stand-ins? Question mark.
Hey, good for you, one, for knowing
just...
there's stand-ins, because most people walked out of that movie not knowing that's what was going on there.
Well, I'll tell you what I don't know.
People walking out being like, I hated that.
I don't know how Liam Neeson and Emma, what's her name? Emma
Thompson.
Thompson. I don't know how they know each other.
Do you need to?
No, I mean, no, I don't care. But like the movie never told me. But yeah, it was weird. At first I was like, oh, they're stand-ins, and it's just like this one specific scene is a sex scene. And then the stand-ins kept getting nakeder and in weirder positions. And then I was just like, okay, so this is a porn movie with a budget.
We don't know how they do it across the pond is the truth.
I don't know what
they do not have. I mean, we have stand-ins in Hollywood movies for lighting purposes, but I'm not sure the porn lighting is so exact that they need, similarly sized people to do the deed, and including doing it naked.
The question is, if you're still doing that these days, do they have an intimacy coordinator for the stand-ins?
They need one. I mean, it was weird.
There was a lot of groping.
There was a lot of groping. It's not like they were just standing there. They were like, all right, move the breasts down. And like, what were they making? I want to see a movie that is the movie that they were shooting. Because I don't know if it was like a porno movie or like a studio movie with a weird.
No, it definitely felt like it was an adult film. There was multiple positions they were doing, different things like that. But so again, we've talked about Richard Curtis a bit in the pre as well, how the British comedies in general can sometimes take a hard turn into sadness and to grief and Four Weddings and a Funeral, famously one of those movies that starts as a comedy and turns into a very heavy drama. Did that not work for you in that it was just inconsistent throughout the anthology of the stories here?
Well, I didn't mind when it went dramatic. It just, it's not that it didn't work for me. I felt like it was a real mixed bag of like, I think there were some stories that got really shortchanged. I think the Hugh Grant storyline was great and it really felt earned and but then you've got the Colin Firth story and it's just like he drove her in the car twice and now he wants to marry her. And it's like, what the hell? Like, it just like.
They went swimming in a cold lake.
I mean,
it starts at 5 weeks before Christmas, so he had 5 full weeks. I think he was at that house maybe 2 or 3 weeks, so they saw each other every day.
Yeah, but obviously, my point is the movie didn't earn it. Maybe if we didn't have to watch that weird guy go to Milwaukee and have a foursome with the cast of American Pie, we could have fit that in.
They could have cut Colin completely. That is in a movie that has several moments of absurdity, and I'll call back here to Colin Firth's story in that sense. The Colin character is just, I'm not sure what point we're proving other than if you have bad teeth and an accent, every hot actress in the early 2000s wants to sit on your face. That's pretty much how that went.
It just went too far. Like, it was fine.
I don't even think it was fine.
It would have been fine to me if he showed up.
He spends the first 3 minutes commenting to women in his office about his nuts and calling him my future wife. And then somehow magically in the next 2 minutes is handing out hors d'oeuvres at a wedding. The man is just a Renaissance man of odd jobs, but
he definitely is. I feel some sort of way about this. So.
He's a piece of shit, but yet he's the classic. I don't know. They try to make it feel fun. Oh, he's going to go to America and get laid. But he spends most of his time on screen bitching that nobody wants to be with him. Well, it's kind of because you're a piece of shit, Colin. Like, they could have done away with that in a film strengths were the drama.
He is the epitome of the fact that this, like, of the American Pie side of this movie that just didn't need to be there. There's just this weird other part of this movie that is like trying to be like an edgy teen comedy kind of. And it just sticks out like a sore thumb for me.
He's the British Stifler with less vulgarity. I mean,
you're not wrong.
And it wasn't necessary.
Yeah. I mean, 2003, this is still the wave of the R-rated comedy coming back with the late 90s American Pie and all that. So yeah, it's not surprising that the movie is kind of like half towing that line. And to Doofin's point, it's funny because everybody I talk to that knows this movie has a different segment or story that they just cannot stand. And I do agree that Colin's sex trip and the porn stand-ins are usually the most common ones. I know my wife can't stand the Laura Linney part of it at all.
Oh, I got opinion on that.
Yeah, give it to us.
I don't mind the Laura Linney story, and I think the brother thing is interesting, and she's a good actor. But like, the movie didn't give a shit about the Laura Linney storyline. They do nothing with it. Rodrigo Santoro does nothing except smile and like look good with his shirt off. And then it doesn't do anything. And there's no closure with that entire story.
If you're good at something.
I mean, hey, it was not bad to look at. But like it doesn't, that's the storyline that gets no closure. It's like even the little kid who wants to bang the American Idol girl has closure. But like the Laura Linney story is just like, no, she has a brother. She's probably going to die alone.
I mean, I think giving that scene at the end, that the moment passed. That's all that was. That was the closure. Like they had a moment, it passed. I mean, they leave a few open, including Thompson and Rickman.
Yeah, she spends Christmas with her brother. I think that's
I don't think they leave
one
Thompson
of those moments where Curtis actually, he kind of almost has afternoon special elements of this. Like love comes in different forms, and sometimes you have to leave one version of it behind because another kind of love demands every bit of your life, and there's self-sacrifice there. I actually think
I like that. I agree with you that strangely out of place.
That deserved more.
Yeah,
I think the introduction of that story is the dumb one with her boss, who Alan Rickman just, is there anything that man isn't fantastic in? But bringing her in and somehow in a workplace, look, we all know you want to fuck this guy. So just get on with it. Like
if this movie taught me anything, it's that everyone in England knows each other.
That is true.
That's what I've learned. Is that everyone
outside of Thompson and Neeson, I would argue
at the same time.
Maybe Neeson's deceased wife, is who was friends with him at Thompson. But other than that, they do bring around how everybody knows each other to a decent degree, I thought, in that.
No, I like it.
The weddings, the Christmas parties.
I like when that happens. I didn't think the Rickman Emma Thompson storyline got shortchanged. I actually think that does have closure, and that like he fucked up. It's not going to be the same anymore. But he kind of got hit by the newspaper, and now he's going to be good again. Like I think that one, at least I know where it's going. But the Lenny one just kind of died.
There's a pretty broad spectrum of people who are upset at the Alan Rickman, Emma Thompson, because there's no definitive closure. They want to know if they got divorced. They want to know.
I thought it was pretty clear that they were not. I thought it was pretty clear.
But people were mad that there was no clear line what happened there. And it's just like, you don't need that.
No.
I think one thing that this movie's really strong in, even in some of its silliness, is that love exists in many different forms. And sometimes it is fragile and will not be able to heal. Like, I don't know. I love that whole thing. I think Emma Thompson's at the top of her game. She literally brings me to tears in a couple moments in that film because of how good her acting is.
I could have, I think that is one of the stronger storylines, but I think that one has big, like, stay together for the kids, Hillary Clinton energy. But like right or wrong, I think that's what it's giving you. But like, I could have done without, and a couple of the storylines have this problem, but this one has it worse. The manic pixie dream girl receptionist who's just like, I thought I was pretty clear. I want to bang you. Can we bang now? Let's bang. Like, it was just like, it felt like this movie, a lot of the women feel like they're written by guys and no one more so than the receptionist.
Right. No, this has been labeled a movie about women written by men, or a movie for women written by men. And it is 100%.
I don't know if this is a movie for women. I think the better version of this movie would have been a movie for women. But yeah, like to me, it doesn't know what it wants to be. It wants to be a little bit of a Christmas movie, a little bit of a rom-com, and a little bit Van Wilder, like I said. And it's just, you get these weird tonal shifts, and also the moral compass on this movie is all over the fucking place. Like, I get it that 2003 was a different time, and like the fat shaming and all that stuff, like that's just where we were as a country, and like whatever, we've gotten better about that. But like the Andrew Lincoln stuff with his best friend's wife, and like there's just a lot of like weird, creepy, like wrong stuff in there that the movie doesn't seem to condemn or have any problem with. Like, I don't know. It just felt like the moral compass on this movie was kind of all over the place.
And again, the moral compass in England and America has never been on the exact same playing field every year to year. Sometimes we're ahead of them. Sometimes they're ahead of us in certain things. But yeah, to your point, Curtis actually had shot 2 additional like subplots that got cut two of them never got filmed at all. And he had to go, I think he said this in the commentary, he had to cut a scene from every one of the stories, like a major scene, and even omitting a couple of them. But with that said, it's still arguably 10 minutes too long. I think that's the point. There's always one of those, probably the porn stand-ins and probably Colin have least effect on the interconnectivity and could easily go and make it for a tighter movie. So
no, Bill Nighy's story is what needed to go. I mean, I like him as an actor, but
that is.
Oh my God, he is the one of the MVPs of this movie.
He's great in it. He's great in it, and I liked him, and he's lively. But like, I felt like the movie got to where it was about to end in 15 minutes, and suddenly Richard Curtis was like, "All right, well, we've got to give him like, how do we tie this guy back to love?" Like he's doing his own thing. He's in a completely different movie, and it's just like, I guess I like the fat guy I've been making fun of the whole movie. Like it's just like his storyline
that was more earned than most of the stories. Yeah,
no, his storyline went nowhere.
No way.
He's great in it. He's probably the best.
I totally disagree. I think he spends the entire movie just visibly shedding this facade of misogyny, because you know what I mean? Like he's living it up because that's all he knows, but you could tell it's just led him to this point in his life he hates. And then I appreciate that a movie in 2003 lets two men have a moment of platonic love and never lets it get uncomfortable.
I thought for sure they were going to kiss.
I think it's akin to
kiss. I thought they were going to kiss.
Liam Neeson's section where it's just like, in some ways, this movie allows men to actually feel emotions and say it's okay, which is still a goddamn problem in society today. But
I liked that. I just didn't think it earned that. It felt so tacked on. It was like Bill Nighy's doing
the movie starts with Bill Nighy.
Funny things. What?
The movie starts with him. He is a thread of that movie. That song is a thread in the background. I think his story with the manager that he actually realizes, like Doofin said, all through the movie, he's slowly realizing like what a fraud he is. He did this whole thing with it going number one as a lark, and it worked out, and he still didn't even want that. He was miserable. He realized the guy
great. Look, it's not that I don't enjoy that storyline. I just think it's its own movie. Like it's not doing the same thing as the other. There's not a love story thing going on there. It just feels so. He's like, it's like a self-discovery story where they got to the end and we're like, all right, we got to tie this back into love, or people are going to be like,
I feel like Doofin talked about how love is a many splendid thing throughout the many facets already multiple times. Doofin, should we hang up on him and just talk about this?
The story wasn't doing that. Like nothing about his storyline when he was doing all that stuff tied back to the manager in any kind of way until the very end.
If you rewatch it, I think you'll disagree with that notion. I really do, because I found it to be pretty in the open as I watched it this most recent time.
I mean, I thought he was great. I thought he was fun to watch, but that is the storyline, along with the guy who goes to Milwaukee where all the ladies are. Like those two I could have done without.
Cameron did not want a comedy, it sounds like.
I mean,
Cameron doesn't like to have fun.
I do. I hate fun. I needed more Hugh Grant. Hugh Grant is just goddamn lovable in this movie.
I mean, watch Paddington 2. That's his.
Yeah, I do often.
Well, he's on a nice villain run right now too, which has been great. I've not yet seen Wonka, but I will see it for his Oompa Loompa. But I am.
You know what? He's actually surprisingly really good in The Gentleman, which is not one of Guy Ritchie's best efforts. I still find it incredibly enjoyable just because of the cast. But
yeah, I liked him in that one too. I thought that was
actually really fun in that role.
It was better than it had any business being. I mean, it's at least it didn't have weird porn stand-ins. That's all I have to say.
I think I'm in the minority here that I like that. I think it's a fun meet cute, honestly. I just think it's absurd. It's definitely not one of the stronger plot lines, but I don't know. They're both so great. And Martin Freeman's just a joy to watch on screen.
I think if it was
I lovingly called this when Bilbo humped Sally.
I think if it was just a meet cute and it didn't keep doubling down on, like if they were just like, they like show up because they think they're going to be like just regular stand-ins, and then they're stand-ins for a porn, and then they keep going. I don't know. I couldn't get past how weird the concept of porn stand-ins was, and how the movie didn't seem to find it weird. It was
the shtick does wear off, but it's lighthearted fare, and it didn't feel as forced as the Colin thing is. It's really, I could just rail on that for an hour here. But,
well,
Colin, I can mention he is not a fan.
No. You mentioned Martin Freeman. Let's run down. This cast list is so insane. We've already mentioned several, but ones that have not come up yet. Keira Knightley, Chiwetel Ejiofor, and Billy Bob Thornton as the U.S. president, Rowan Atkinson even. And then never mind the American Pie roster that Cameron mentioned that included January Jones, Alicia Cuthbert, Shannon Elizabeth, Denise Richards. Martin Freeman was coming right off The Office. This was the first exposure to American audiences of a bunch of these people, including Andrew Lincoln, including Keira Knightley, who was only 19 at the time, including Thomas Brody Sangster, the kid that runs through the airport. Post 9/11, that wouldn't have happened, but whatever, man.
It probably could happen in England. It won't happen here.
Was quicker to drop a 9/11 reference than Rudy Giuliani will ever be. Like it speaks to what Cameron was saying with the tonal difference. It's this nice little opening monologue from Hugh Grant, and all of a sudden it's like, when the planes hit the towers. Like, okay.
I mean,
thanks for reminding us.
This is like the British 25th hour.
That was about the only reference to it, though, in like 25th Hour, which was steeped in it by location.
How dare you? I'm the guest here, Shawn. How dare you?
Welcome.
Sorry, I'm so used to this whole being a guest thing. It's exciting. I'm having fun with this.
So Doofin put in the notes some alt titles. Do you want to give us those?
Oh, God. And we'll see if Cameron can guess what they are.
Yeah, I think he'd mentioned one about the meat cute, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'll rename it. Okay, so first we have Bret Easton Ellis's Fat Bottom Girls. Which, come on, you know which one that is. It's the Natalie.
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of people had problems. I mean, it was one of the first things we mentioned with the fat shaming. The fat shaming goes beyond her. I mean, it exists mostly with her character, but
no, the manager gets it the worst. The manager gets crushed by it.
Well, he gets it, and there's even a couple references from other characters, like I could never date a fat person. Like, Jesus.
Dude,
Natalie gets it bad. Natalie gets it bad.
First lady.
She is super skinny.
When he goes to find her in Portugal, her sister yells at her and calls her skinny. So even the fat people are deriding the skinny people. So you can't win. Everybody is body shaming in this movie.
Even Natalie's dad calls her Plumpy, which clearly is a nickname that has existed. So, and I mean, wow, people.
Final line of this movie, as it's going to black, is "Oh, you weigh a lot." And I know that was Grant being cheeky because it had been a running gag, but like, didn't need that. That's the those last couple lines of Braveheart. You didn't need those there. Really killed the moment.
It is cheeky, but I think it shows that like
fat joke.
She knows. I mean, she responds to that, so I think it shows that like there's a playful side there, and he has gone beyond the trauma that her previous. Anyway, let's see.
Next,
I have The Kids Are All Right or The Circle of Wife. Which
I like this. What else you got?
Which we haven't spent enough time on Liam Neeson and the wonderful stepdad thing. We have Harry Potter and the Bullet That Lily Dodged or The Snapes of Wrath.
I like that.
It's Guy Love Between Two Guys. A little Scrubs action for you right there. Cameron's favorite storyline, apparently. This one sucks. I had Rick Ocasek Just Gets Me, and that's just because of The Car Is My Best Friend's Girl, which is probably the most problematic story in this thing. American Earth Girls Are Easy. Fuck you, Colin.
Poor Colin.
The Cock Block Tango.
What the shit is the Cock Block Tango?
Cock Block Tango references, well, first of all, you got Rodrigo, so he's Spanish, so I'm speaking to Spanish dances.
That's true.
But, Laura Linney's brother constantly stopping her from getting her rocks off.
Oh, man, she got it so bad. He just kept calling, and that was like Mikey continuing to call the girl he met that night over and over again. It was painful like that. I was just like, oh, my God, just let Laura Linney live. Just let her live.
Laura Linney just takes her boobs out just so her brother can call it the most inopportune time. Like,
yeah, this movie had a lot of boobs for a movie that I
just a specimen of a man sitting in front of you. What do we have last? The last few are meet cutes are the most fun a girl can have without putting her clothes on.
How about lower back tattoo? You got anything for that?
The last two are fucking around with the help and anti Elvira Lopez tale. I don't even know if you get that one.
I get the first
about
part.
Colin first story.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes. Elvira Lopez, Scarface. Come on. Anyway, the last one is Mr. Bean must be a linebacker. What with all that wrapping up?
So, fun tidbit about this movie. I guess initially his whole thing of stalling Rickman, he was supposed to be a guardian angel character because he stalls Rickman to not get that necklace, which he ends up buying later anyway. And then later at the airport, he stalls and lets that kid escape through the tunnel. So his whole thing, like initially as written, was supposed to be a bit of an angel character throughout the movie.
That scene actually confused me. That scene actually confused me because I thought Rickman didn't buy the necklace. And then when she found the necklace, I was like,
yeah. Well, they jumped like a couple weeks closer to Christmas, and then they're getting home, and she's like, "Where have you been?" He's like, "I gotta have some secret." So he obviously went back to the store to buy it. Let's talk about something about that real quick, because Cameron, off the air in the weirdest way ever, before we recorded the pre-watch, randomly name dropped Joni Mitchell before we went on the air, like minutes before. And Doof and I were kind of flummoxed by it. Like, what? Are you serious? Because as he now knows, Joni Mitchell plays a big part in that plot point where she's expecting fully that necklace, and
also
not there.
A beautiful Joni Mitchell cover song right in the middle of that. Both Sides Now, which is probably my favorite Joni Mitchell song. Hell, it's probably everyone's favorite Joni Mitchell song. That is weird that I just happened to randomly name drop Joni Mitchell because I had no clue she was going to be in the soundtrack, which, by the way, weird soundtrack. It's like a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And like,
in line with the movie, as you're telling me.
It is. Like, it definitely is. It's just like that. We were One Who Let the Dogs Out away from being like one of those, now that's what I call music tapes. It was a strange. Also, is Blue a real boy band?
I don't believe so. I think they were so phony for the movie.
So either.
Okay. Yeah, some of the radio DJs were real guys, and like the TV show hosts that were going on with Bill Nighy. But yeah, Doofus, was that one of the moments when she plays a Joni Mitchell that Emma Thompson gets to you, makes you cry?
Oh God, that's probably the second most important one for me. But yeah, when she puts the CD on, which I'll try to circle back to that for a second. But one of the biggest flaws in this movie is that him buying her a Joni Mitchell CD. Thinking she doesn't own it already, when she just mentioned that earlier that Joni Mitchell basically taught her everything she knows about being an emotional woman. But anyway, yeah, when she puts that on and just tries to deal with everything and still prepare to not show anything to the kids. But that moment after the show when she confronts him and is just like, how would you handle this? Like that. I was just watching it today, rewatching it, and like I'm sitting in my office tearing up, and I'm like, she is so good at what she does, taking this movie that's surrounded by silliness and like making me care to the point I'm having an emotional response.
Yeah, I think Emma Thompson and Laura Linney were the only two that got the memo that this was a drama and not a comedy, or at least somewhat of a drama, because those two are putting in the work and everyone else is just kind of dicking around. But yeah, I thought Laura Linney was really strong too in the stuff with her brother, and like I thought she was good. I think Emma Thompson was great. There's a lot of good performances in this movie. And then there's just a few people that are kind of wasted and like, I don't know, they just barely. Sienna Guillory, like blink and you miss her. She's like Colin Firth's girlfriend for like the first 30 seconds of the movie, and then she's gone forever. Like there's a lot of, I don't know. I kind of wonder what the 3-hour version of this movie would be.
It would just
padded out stuff.
45 more minutes of Colin running into American actresses.
Colin working his way through the Midwest. Hey, I want to see one of those rules of attraction style cutaways where it does like 10 minutes of Colin just like hooking up throughout the Midwest. Like Colin in Chicago on top of the Sears Tower, Colin at like the St. Louis Arch, Colin just like living his best life.
I do wonder if that was deliberately just like playing on how much American movies do the same thing with Europe, because it was very cut and dry. Like American goes over there and get laid. Like there's so many movies like that, the sex comedies and stuff, Euro Trip onward. And I wonder if he was sort of just playing on how stupid kind of reverse notion.
The first thing he does is order a Budweiser. So
yes, the whole scene was like putting a hat on a hat on a hat on a hat. It's just like, oh, it's clever. He went there and there was a pretty girl. Oh, the pretty girl has a friend. I guess that's funny. Oh, the pretty girl has a third friend. And now apparently they all sleep in the same bed. Okay. It's like they just kept piling jokes on. It was like they yes-anded until it wasn't funny anymore. It's like, oh, okay. I guess this is the thing. Like, I don't, I think Colin, had such high hopes for Colin.
That's silly.
He just didn't make it.
I find it a small miracle that somehow Colin Firth's character, before I get this, how many weeks out of those 5 weeks do you think he spent in the cabin or whatever?
I assumed it was 2 or 3 because he goes there after 1 week and then is back.
Needs some amount of time to learn Portuguese.
That's my point, is that somehow.
So that's why I figured they were together for like a week and now he's trying to get married. Like I felt like they weren't together that long and he's just a crazy person.
Yeah, agreed.
I feel like this movie plays with time more than Christopher Nolan. Yeah, there's not enough time for him to even learn just a modicum of Portuguese, but somehow he goes to Marseille Provence Airport, which I'm assuming there's a Portuguese population in Marseille because that ain't anywhere near Portugal, and it's certainly not a cab ride. And I think that could have been a fun story if they had paid any attention to continuity. But yeah, he probably had, 3 days to learn Portuguese?
No, he nailed it. I mean, he was pretty good. Like, he was as good at Portuguese as he was at English.
Yeah, they were both bad at it. I will say he didn't even say Heathrow. He said go to the other airport. He probably knew how to get over to mainland France quicker than drive down. It's really not that far of a drive if you end up in France. But
yeah, but how is there a whole town in Marseille? I mean, it very clearly, when he steps out of the airport and gets the cab, it says Marseille, Provence.
It does? Oh, so, I thought she was somewhere else.
So I'm assuming, again, that there's this Portuguese town in the middle of southern France. Marseille's in the Mediterranean and Portugal's all the way over there on the west. Yeah, it's stuff like that. I mean, it doesn't take a lot away from it. It's a silly film anyway, but it's things like that take me out of movies because I'm like, it only takes a little bit of research to understand why that's silly. Speaking of research, Blue was an actual boy band.
Suck it. I knew it.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah. I thought my wife might have known that. I don't know. She knows her boy bands, including the British ones. I did not recognize them by name.
I feel like we should talk.
There were no BB Mac.
No, they were no O-Town. That's for sure. I feel like we should talk at least. I mean, I'm not the host, but if I were the host, I feel like we should talk a little bit about how Keira Knightley found out that Andrew Lincoln was a creepy stalker and then was like, "Aw,
let's make out.
Let's make out." That's cool that you're just like taking videos of my face for 5 hours. You fucking weirdo. Like that, like we really kind of glossed over that, but like what a piece of shit that guy is. Like that's his best friend's wife. He's like stalking his best friend's wife. Like, come on, dude. That is not.
That, to me, were perfect. Him holding the card has become just a kind of meme over the years. But yeah, the sentiment behind it is it's him like absolving himself, but that's still not fair to her. Everything he put her through. Like, wait, I thought you hated me because you're actually standoffish. It's like, yeah, because I'm a creep who's in love with you and I don't know how to talk to you about it.
Well,
so I actually let you marry my best friend.
Yeah, like I knew that scene, so I kept waiting for that, thinking it was going to be this like amazing romantic moment. And then like that dude, he shows up with the cards. I'm just like, oh no, I'm on the side of the stalker. It's been the stalker the whole time. Like, oh no, yeah. I thought this was like a beautiful moment in romance history. This is no, that is not good. I did not like that part.
Somebody should utilize that as like a cold opening in a horror movie where somebody shows up like in an appropriate mask or something costume and does a bunch of cue cards and then just kills the girl at the door.
Care Package 3. Let's do it.
You don't want writing credits.
That's right. You get all the writing credits. Yeah, that I did not like that part.
So it's interesting that you would learn that just from like the cultural osmosis, because that is a reveal if you've never seen the movie, because Laura Linney pegs him as in love with the husband, and you kind of
I thought that's where it was going to go. Obviously,
yeah.
I assumed that was probably where it was going to go, but it didn't. And then I mean, I knew he was the cue card guy, and I knew the cue card thing was like it's been a thing that's been beaten to death in pop culture, but like. Yeah, I didn't know he was also a creepy stalker. That part was left out.
Well, Cameron, you usually like to bring up any memorable lines. Any of one stick out to you necessarily?
No, actually. I feel like I should. I feel like I should have a line. I mean, there were some clever lines in there.
Yeah.
I just can't off the top of my head.
Neeson's stepson had a couple good ones about like, let's go get the shit kicked out of us by love. He said another one about that too.
Those two have the best banter. Like when they finally, when he finally opens up to Liam Neeson's character and is like, oh, I'm in love, and explains the situation. And Liam Neeson's just like, what are you going to do? And he's like, I don't know. And he explains, she's the most popular girl and she doesn't like boys. He's like, man, you're fucked, aren't you? It's just like, this is great.
Yeah.
No American movie would at least in 2003, would let a character talk to their stepson like that. Wait,
hold on. Is he a stepdad?
Yeah, he's a stepdad.
He is. And Cameron, don't feel bad, because for almost 20 years, I thought he was the dad. And Alicia had said, no, he's a stepdad. They say in the movie. And as I rewatched it, they do make it clear that is not his child. He is raising.
If it makes you feel any better.
That's why that story is fun, because he's trying to find an in now that it's just the two of them.
Yeah, I actually like that better. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he expresses that like the mom was always the communicative one with him. and they didn't really have that connection. So he's trying to find it because he wants to be there for him. And it's just a great little development on how those two kind of come together.
Yeah, I dig that. Throughout the first 30 minutes of the movie, I thought that Liam Neeson and Emma, my brain doesn't work, Emma Thompson. I thought Liam Neeson and Emma Thompson were married, and I thought their daughter died, and I thought he was the grandkid for a minute because no one told me who Emma Thompson was to Liam Neeson. So I just
that's
assumed
weird, given that their first interaction, she says on the phone, it's not that it's something to the effect of it's not that I'm not sorry that your wife just died.
Okay, well, maybe I missed that line.
I don't think you understand British.
I don't speak British.
That name, they only showed Thompson with Rickman the whole first few interactions, so you knew.
Well, no, once they put her and Rickman together, I was good. I got it. But for a minute there in the beginning, I was not sure how those pegs fit together. But
it doesn't make sense now.
It was a film that required a rewatch just to really, really get the depth of it.
Well, I'm not watching that again.
Get the connections anyway.
I guarantee you, your girlfriend will, now that she knows you've seen it, entice you for future viewings.
No, that is not going to happen because my girlfriend watched it with me this time. She had seen it once before. I hadn't. And she had a lot of the same things. She said a lot of the same things I said, which is this movie's taking some weird turns and choices. This is not going to be on our, as much as I liked seeing it and I'm glad I saw it, this is not going to be on my Christmas rewatch list with Elf and National Lampoon's Vacation.
Did she also wonder what language these British people were speaking?
Yeah, she didn't understand any of it. She was just nodding.
Two countries.
She probably on her cell phone the whole time. She don't know none of it.
Yeah. Well, so were you because you kept missing connections from people. But here's the thing. We talked at the beginning in the pre-watch that this movie has gone up and down in people's eyes. It's funny how often now it's on Christmas classic rewatch list, but not Cameron's apparently. But the same amount of people are just loathe this movie and its very existence. So I will say, though, in the wake of the film, we got a bunch of all-star rom-coms that just did not have a fraction of the staying power of this movie. Gary Marshall did a whole trilogy of them in Valentine's Day, New Year's Day, and Mother's Day. And even the movie like He's Just Not That Into You kind of was a similar vein of the all-star cast with interconnected stories. But none of them people talk about still or quote as commonly as they do this movie. So it has some staying power. It's been remade in 4 different countries now. There's a Dutch, Polish, Japanese, and Indian version of the movie as well that are just kind of rips of it. So for all the hubbub about it, yeah, wasn't that for a charity thing, like Red Nose Day or something?
Yeah, they did a Red Nose Day actually or something, and they brought back quite a few of the people.
Maybe I'll watch that. Maybe. Wait, hold on. Did Colin come back, or did he stay in America?
Oh, damn it! This is the most this guy's ever been talked about.
Seriously, we have spent more time on him in this podcast than they did in the movie.
I mean, Colin's a bright, big, shining star, and how dare you say
he is that Stifler character from the American sex comedies, though. You're right. Now that you've said that, that's exactly what he just brought that energy into this movie that did not need it. I'm kind of on your page now. It certainly did not need it. If I could throw away one story, it probably would be that one because it just, again, didn't tie into anything either, really.
Yes.
Yeah, take away that 15 minutes and give me more Laura Linney. I'll take more Emma Thompson.
If I need more Laura Linney, she's got a particular kind of mom energy. Everybody knew a mom like her, and I don't know what it is about her, but she gives me that weird certain mom vibe. I'm not down with. I had enough of her. I thought it was just right.
I am all about Laura Linney, basically because she's just boss bitch energy to me. I mean, Primal Fear and Ozark have taught me that that is a woman who will take.
I've not watched Ozark, so I will say that's a major role that I've not seen her in, so I can't speak to. But yeah, good call on Primal Fear. I mean, she's got kind of a standout moment I always think about in the Truman Show as well, where she's the one that's like, "Help me!"
She is so good in everything. I love her.
I'm not saying she's not good. I'm just saying I thought she was the just right amount of just right in this movie.
If I was going to add more, I would add more to the Colin Firth story. I thought that one felt really rushed. That one was just like, oh, hey, you're cleaning the house. Oh, hey, you have a lower back tattoo. Oh, hey, let's get married. That was it. And then they did not build to anything. And it's the only one where they were just like, fuck it, let's get married, which doubled down on the on the fact that it felt so rushed. But yeah, I could have used a little more of that storyline.
People don't make bad decisions like that ever. What are you talking about?
I mean, not Colin Firth.
Well, Mr.
That
Darcy
guy's a national treasure.
Everybody knows that if you have a Portuguese woman cleaning your writing cabin, you get betrothed to her as fast as possible. That is
especially if they have a lower back tattoo, because as the movie correctly predicted, when it zoomed in on her lower back tattoo, he now knew that she liked to party, and that's the important thing. I mean, it zoomed in on her lower back tattoo. It was ridiculous. Loved it.
Zoomed in on the whole body, taking the clothes
male
off,
gaze moment, but
yeah. Oh yeah, that's what won him over. He's completely blinded by what's going on. He stripped down and jumped in for his pages. So yeah, he's smitten.
He was like, "Thank God, now my crappy thriller book will be put out in 5 stores." Oh God.
She was wearing matching underwear, and if there's one thing that Cosmo quizzes have taught me, it's that if a woman's wearing matching underwear, she has intentions.
That's so funny you say that. I remember when I saw this in the theater with a group of friends. I'm still friends with the guy this day. He said that scene was so unnecessary with the temptress that worked with Rickman. I go, absolutely not. She takes off her clothes and shows she's wearing matching underwear because she fully thought she was getting laid that night. That's 100% what that meant. And again, he might have been a virgin at that time. That's why I'm not calling him out by name. But I'm gonna hit him up right now.
We talking about
I don't think by 2003
sure he's still a virgin, actually.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can neither confirm nor deny.
To be clear,
he did spend some time in Milwaukee.
I don't like this line of shaming in any way.
I just said he went to Milwaukee and now he's fine. I don't know what you're talking about.
I do like that we have established Wisconsin as a very sex positive state.
Yeah, no. Well, University of Wisconsin is like the partiest school this side of Arizona State. So, I mean, I can see it.
But apparently those girls need to spend more time talking to their landlord about maintaining heat in adverse weather conditions.
Yeah, and like maybe get a couple more beds.
Rather than sleeping with foreigners.
They only have one bed. That was the weirdest part of the whole movie. They're like, you can come stay with us, but we only have one bed and no pajamas. I mean,
what a comedy of errors.
This shit. Like, this scene is like completely from another movie. It's like, yeah, you can come sleep with the 4 of us, but we get awful warm. I don't know how you feel about sweat. It's like, what?
Did we say 4? We meant 5.
Yeah. It felt like teenage Michael Bay, like writing his kind of fantasy out.
Oh my God. I loved that part. I just like the decisions made in this movie are fascinating. Like, there's just certain things happen in this
There's some head scratchers. Even in the moment, there were some head scratchers at the time. Like I said, a lot of people bounced off a few of the story bits. And we're not going to say his name again, but the sex trip guy, the porn stand-ins. But at the time, the movie grossed $6 million domestically. Yeah, Colin,
Talking about Colin, man.
I'm all in on Colin.
Oh, Colin, that guy. Sorry, how much did the movie gross?
Cameron.
What did the movie gross?
$60 million US and Canada, 62 in the United Kingdom. It was a mega hit there, of course, for obvious reasons, and another 122 million in other territories for a worldwide total of 244.9 million. And
now,
again,
Shawn, did you double check these numbers? Because
sorry for that one Scream episode where we read something very incorrectly. All of us on a website, but
the internet's bullshit.
Because it's Doofin, and we do talk about scores off air too. Doofin, how'd you feel about the score? Because I think it's one of these stronger rom-com scores, which aren't always as memorable or notable as like an action movie or drama.
Yeah, I made notes here that rom-com scores are never something that really stands out. I can't really think of one that like I've heard and I'm like, oh my God, that is just, I have to go back and listen to it.
The Graduate.
Okay, fair.
Sorry, go ahead.
Which I guess we're going to talk about shortly. But no, this is actually really solid. I even put in the notes like it's nothing I'm going to go back and listen to. And then I called bullshit on myself. And right before we hopped on here, started listening to it. And it's simple, but it never overwhelms the movie. It always has the right emotional cues. It's flighty and cute when it needs to be. It hits the right notes of melancholy when it needs to. That opening montage, where it flies from Bill Nye's song into basically the musical matching of it and does its little 5-minute montage and little sitar action going on is actually pretty clever. I was surprisingly into it once I isolated it and listened to it by itself.
What if Colin's story is the porno movie within the movie that Martin Freeman is a stand-in for?
It's funny you say that because they're friends with the same guy that's friends with Colin.
Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting.
Does anybody notice that guy is everywhere?
Yeah, that dude knows everybody. He's like,
Yeah, he
he's
kind of
like the
did. He
drug
was at
the
the
one-
wedding too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's doing the lighting. He's at the wedding. He's at the airport. I think he shows up another scene somewhere. I'm just like, this guy is ubiquitous.
Listen, man, gig workers, they're everywhere you look.
Tons of stuff.
Make that
man.
money.
This was back
I'm
before the
surprised
Euro.
he didn't pop up in a scene and put a blouse that says "Here's my vagina" on Alan Rickman's secretary there. I mean, she pretty much spends the movie pointing at it.
She is like about as subtle as a kick in the dick. Man,
It's funny. One of you did mention that that he straight up tells Laura Linney, like, "Hey, everybody in the office knows you want to bang this guy. You should go bang this guy." And it makes sense because he's secretly just projecting because he's really wanting to bang the lady.
I don't know how much.
maybe-
Like, I didn't know for most of the movie if he actually did want to bang her, if he was just scared of her. Like, she's just like,
I always thought that like he comes to terms with the fact that like it's this balance between you've been in this marriage and in this routine, and now here's this younger woman who like you are just the object of her desire, and like you are the focal point of everything she wants. And I think he has to play off the emotional toll that carries, because it's like, wow, here's something different. Here's something I could have. She literally lays it out on the table for him.
literally
Well, not literally, sorry, but she does say you
right
can
on the
have
table.
anything you want.
whips it out right on the table.
There is a table, and she puts her vagina on it. I don't know how she disconnected it.
Literally,
British people are put together differently.
that's true.
But no, that's one of those things that I think this movie brings a subtle complexity, but it's very inferred, and you have to dig a little bit for it. Maybe that's just a personal bias. I don't know.
Maybe you're just bringing your beliefs to the movie and filling in the blanks that they just kind of left blank for no reason.
Oh, love projection.
Love
actually.
comma projection.
Yeah. So again, largely, though clearly not universally, says the internet, beloved rom-com, drom-com, if you will, Christmas movie, King's Feast of British thespians and interconnected stories, some of which blow, as we've decided here. But Cameron, normally this is where we'd wrap up an actual guest and then you and I would chat offline, but stick around and we'll just kind of do it all together and do our normal wrap-up questions with both of you, since Doofin is kind of the sub. I want to ask him the similar things. Cameron first,
I'm
as
a
he is
dom,
the guest.
first of all.
Right? Any other major blind spots, Cameron? I know you and I have gone back and forth on some, and I landed on this one with you to do for an episode, but larger blind spots and Christmas movie blind spots, if you've got any.
I don't think I have any Christmas movie blind spots. Between my dad growing up and my girlfriend now, they're both Christmas movie enthusiasts. So I don't think I have any of those. I do have some blind spots. I've never seen a Harry Potter movie, as we've discussed before. I've never seen Lawrence of Arabia, which I believe is everyone's blind spot. I've never seen Gone with the Wind.
I was going to say, before you said the third one, I was going to say, you just hate ensembles of Brits, apparently. But yes. Harry Potter is a little bit of a commitment. You'd want to start it, and then it kind of ebbs and flows a little bit too, and then settles in. But that's for down the road. Lawrence of Arabia, I have seen. I know you're right, though. Most people we ask still have not seen it because it's a meal. It's a commitment. You got to sit for 4 hours, and the best way to do it's in like a 70 millimeter at the Egyptian or something if it comes around to your area also. But yeah, so no Christmas movies. Doofin, how about yourself? Any larger blind spots for you?
I wrote a few down, and I looked at your list, and I think there's bigger ones on there. The couple that I had written down were Ben-Hur and Seven Samurai. I was trying to look at like the most popular movies of all time, and those were some that stood out. I know Talley and I discussed the fact that I haven't seen Everything Everywhere All at Once yet, but that doesn't really classify as late to the party, as new as it is.
No, you're late to the party. You have to see that. That movie's fucking.
I've seen an hour of Babylon. Forgive me. Looking at your list, and once again, Cameron just being as prescient as he's proven to be. I've never seen The Graduate.
Oh wow,
that's a pretty big one.
You know, I know
just on influence,
the most popular moments from it.
Yeah,
just again by cultural osmosis. I've never seen Taxi Driver. Again, and I know the most popular cue from it, but those are probably my two big ones maintained on your list.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We have to have you back and do one of those. Those are pretty big.
Yeah, I would say Graduate and Taxi Driver are pretty large ones. I understand the Everything Everywhere All at Once only in its newness. I would even say if somebody hadn't seen Parasite, it's still a new Best Picture kind of canonized classic. But yeah, you named a few good ones there. We should certainly have you on as a proper guest. Doofin, before we let you go as well, anything you want to direct folks to? Do you want anybody to follow you on a particular social media, as social media is all kind of dying in real time with us right now?
Now that my life is consumed in the world of being a parent / foster parent, I'm not as active. But if anybody wants to follow me and see an inane tweet once every 17 days or pictures of what food I'm eating or my kid, you can follow me at the Doofin on Twitter, Instagram. I am never on TikTok because I'm too old, despite the fact that 60-year-olds are making millions of dollars. And then I assume people already are, but if they're listening to this and aren't, follow Paper Street. You don't know what you're missing if you're not. I'm a fanboy, and not just because of the relationship I have with you guys. I think you guys know I'm very, very smitten with the work you've put out, even though Cameron has had a part to play.
Thanks, Doofin. Kind of, I guess, backhandedly. Also, you can follow Doofin on the I Hate Colin subreddit on Reddit, where he continues to trash talk the great thespian of our time, Colin.
In fact, by proxy, I hate everybody named Colin. Kaepernick? Sorry, bud. I appreciate you, but
should have stood.
Change your name.
Should have stood. You wouldn't have this problem. And let's cut that out.
Let's cut that out.
Obviously, no. Cameron said that and laughed because we know Cameron.
Yeah, that was a joke because I'm pro Colin Kaepernick.
I would have said that he should have been traded to Green Bay.
Don't send your letters.
He could have had all the sex he wants and would have been playing.
That's true. He could have driven up to Milwaukee and hang out with Colin.
There's no order to listen to the show, as I often say, but if you hear this and then later listen to Titanic, there's more incendiary things from the mouth of Cameron Burns, so don't worry. This is just
Stop trying to get me in trouble, Talley.
Hey.
Stop trying to get me in trouble.
I'm trying not to. I'm going to be blocking some stuff you said earlier, too.
I think what Cameron wants to say is that his favorite moment from the movie was the 9/11 reference.
They did capture real folks at the airport, so that was kind of cool. It is weird in the passing line. So
can we talk about the week after 9/11 or whatever, and they let a little kid get all the way to the gate and all the way
security
on the plane?
At Heathrow.
Yeah, it was not my best day.
But to be fair, when you fall under the guile of Mr. Bean, a lot of things won't go your way.
The ghost of Christmas Bean. I feel like this has gone completely off the rails. Shawn, get this thing back on track.
Yeah.
I'll try for the third time. No, all good. We appreciate you watching this, Cam. And now you can just, again, knock it off the list. It may not be one of your canonized Christmas classics, but we're glad you saw it. You were late to the party, but we're glad you got here. This has been a presentation of the Paper Street Podcast. We appreciate Doofin as well for subbing for you on this one. And we'll have him back down the road for one as well. So for those guys, I am Shawn Talley. Thank you for listening. Don't be late to the party.
We love you, Colin.
Would you say I'm the Colin of guest hosts?
Yes.